Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. We've got another screwed up guy to talk about today.
Or do we ever?
That's the way to open
Oh my God. This guy right here. Okay. So for those of you that are true crime fanatics and serial killer groupies, we've got a very special person to talk about today because he is just special in all the wrong ways. We are talking about the Happy Face Killer, Jefferson, Keith Hunter Jefferson. Oh my God, this guy. Who wants to kick this thing off?
Name, huh?
Yeah.
Dude.
Talking about it earlier. What a weird middle name to have for a serial killer.
No shit. Your middle name is Hunter.
What's up, Sean?
That is like so, what is the word I'm looking for? Ironic.
Yes, it is.
Because he hunted his prey. Well, most of them he just walked up to him, picked up because he had, I don't know. All I know is he was like about 6'8", and he was a big, huge bastard.
Yeah.
And when he was growing up, I'll let you go into more of the dad. I'm going to talk about his brothers real quick.
Yeah.
He was so big, he was bigger than all the other kids. So they called him Igor, or Ig for short.
Oh, God.
So that's our new hashtag this week is Ig.
Ig. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Iggy.
Big dude. Big.
Oh, Ig. Big Ig.
Big Ig.
Big Egg. That might
I
be
know.
it.
Big
Big
Egg.
Egg.
Big egg.
All right, I'm going to
Hashtag
throw
big
up.
egg.
Here's the slide 2. Okay, maybe I'll throw it up and let's see what we talk about here. All right, so he's from British Columbia, Canada. Long haul trucker. Seems like a normal guy to friends and family, but he had those violent tendencies, animal cruelty and isolation. Now what Blaine was telling me some of the stuff he did. Oh my God.
I'm
Guys.
gonna bring it up just for content purposes. He would, he raised pigeons, and he first started beating them with a hammer, and then he decided he's just going to start choking them and see how long they would choke to death. Then he put, now this is probably going to piss some people off. It pissed me off, but I'm going to tell you anyway how sick this bastard was. He took a kitten and put it in a microwave and turned it on. Then, when he had kids, he took their kittens and tied them to a clothesline and made them fight to the death. That's how sick this bastard was. That's just before he killed any human being.
Yeah. But, you know, like we were talking about, we're right from the beginning, his childhood, you know, yeah, he was bigger than everybody. They picked on him to the point he couldn't make any friends. So he felt I'd rather be alone and isolated in that. But he would get really angry. But as soon as he'd get angry, his father would be there to beat the crap out of him for being that way, his alcoholic father. But his grandfather was just as evil. It's almost like that ancestral trauma that keeps happening over and over again, and it builds and it builds. But the thing is his grandfather beat his father and his father beat him. But the weird thing about it, him being a serial killer and all those crimes that his father and grandfather didn't do, but he never beat his children, but yet he was a serial killer. So it's so weird how that skips, that generational skip or anything like that.
Well, even worse, though, his dad actually electrocuted him with a battery. They was fixing a truck, and he wasn't holding the flashlight right or something. So his dad shocked the living shit out of him with jumper cables.
Yeah. So being picked on, you know, your own brothers aren't even supporting you, and you know, you're growing up isolated. Your cruelty to animals, and you know, we've talked about the triad. There she comes. There she is. Hey, Gwen.
I see her now. Yeah.
We thought you didn't love us no more. So
she was still partying.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she's a sweet pea.
But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
That's
you
okay.
know our show comes on at 7 o'clock, young lady. Be on time.
7 o'clock for me. I know. So sorry.
All right, let me show you guys a picture of this guy. I mean, I'm just starting to get my head around this. I'm sorry, baby. Welcome. And Sonia Thompson, we love you. Thank you for going through the network podcast. We need good people on our shows, and she's one of them. So thank you. And if you missed it, go back and look at Shane McLean's wall and on Facebook lives and YouTube and all of that stuff, because she is right there. All right, so here's this ugly mug. Is he not pitiful?
Mm-mm.
All right,
they all
so
wear the serial killer glasses. They all have the same serial killer glasses. What is this?
He looks like a deranged Big Bird.
Yeah. Okay, hashtag deranged Big Bird.
Yeah, y'all look at him.
Anybody watching, you have to vote the best hashtag for the show.
Oh my God!
He looks like Beaker. He looks like Beaker from the Muppets.
Beaker. Yeah, deranged Beaker.
Oh my God!
Holy shit!
Oh, big egg.
Big egg.
Yeah. Boom. So we got hashtag big egg. Hashtag. What did I say? Beaker Muppet? I don't know. What else?
Deranged Beaker.
Yeah.
Or deranged Big Bird. You pick one of them. He fits all of them.
Yeah. But going back to his youth and that triad, the animal cruelty, you know, wetting the bed, which there was no indication of that, setting fires, which, you know, I had assumed that he did because he was a camper. He liked going camping even at a young age, all the way until adulthood. And a lot of those areas that he went camping are a lot of the dumping sites that he had over the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that youth, him growing up, moving from Canada into the U.S., not being able to make friends, and so we already got Big Egg up there. But
Yeah.
Nice.
that's the part of it is that's your youth in our families, our towns we live in. You got to keep an eye out for these things.
Yeah.
This is what creates that stuff sometimes.
Well, you know what was really weird about it? He would take his family to
Yeah.
those same parks where he was dumping his bodies at.
Yeah.
And just it was all happy, normal. Big Egg.
Big Egg. I think that might be the one, y'all. Big Egg.
Yeah.
Oh crap. Blaine, you set this off when we were coming on. He looks like Lurch from the Addams Family.
Dude, he does.
Did you say that? He does. He does. Thank you, Renee. God.
Yeah, that's
big
bastard. 6'8".
Speaking of Lurch, just remember, get your tickets. We'll have Eddie Munster at the Paracon in Connecticut. So, Butch Patrick. So another Munster show from that era. So. Oh yeah, perfect.
I know this is gonna be funny because a lot of people won't know he was in this show called Lids after the Munsters. So I'm gonna bring that up to him, see if he remembers being in that Sid Marty Krofft show.
Yeah, I know Blaine's gonna have to bring up you'll have to bring a picture of him on the show so he can.
Dude, I wish I had one.
Yeah, gonna find one online.
I'm gonna find a comic book of Lids, and I'm gonna get my little Wolfman doll. That is happening. I wanted one my whole life. It's happening. eBay, here I come.
Oh Lord.
But I tell you, this guy, there's so many layers to it. The fact of the matter that a lot of it was more talked about because of his daughter, Melissa Moore. She decided to become an advocate for victims and also family members that are victims and had to grow up with serial killers or murderers or anything like that. She wrote she wrote a book, Shattered Silence. She was on a whole bunch of shows, Dr. Phil, Oprah, 2020, all these things. She brought it into the forefront. It's a double-edged sword when you do that because you're making people more aware of your background and people lash out. Also, the families don't want, to have to keep reliving it when you talk about it so much too. So that's part of the, the sadness of it and all that and what people have to live with. But, the families of serial killers are some of the biggest victims too, because that follows them. If your last name was Dahmer, even if you weren't even related to him, just having the last name, you're going to get ridiculed.
Yeah.
With anything, Bundy, any of those types of things, you get that ridicule, even if you're not anywhere near related to him, just happens to be, the name. And that's what you got to live with.
Yeah. Thomas, one of the things I thought was interesting about the guy is every time he would kill somebody, he'd bring his children presents. And he gave his daughter like trinkets from the women he killed. He just buy his son, stuff that little boys like. But he would give her trinkets. That way, he always had them because his daughter wouldn't get rid of them.
Yeah. She held on to a lot of that stuff. But a lot of it was when being a long haul truck driver, you're not around a lot. But, when the mom left, they moved him to Spokane, Washington. So he'd go on the road and come visit them, stay over for the night. What's up, Raven? So he'd stay over for the night. But as soon as they heard the truck coming down the road, the vibrations, and they go running up, and out of his 3 kids, they want to see who could get to him first. And his daughter always liked to dig in his pockets and get his change. So she gets to keep the change that was left over and go buy candy the next day or anything like that. But them doing happy to see him, not realizing that he just offed somebody and dumped them somewhere. And them growing up not knowing that. I don't think it was his oldest daughter was Melissa. He called her Missy. She doesn't go by that anymore. It's one of those my dad used to call him that going, there's that separation there. But her growing up, she didn't know until she was 15 when the police came and said, hey, told the mom, and the mom told him, your dad's in jail for murder.
Yeah.
And, that goes from there. And she really only went to see him in prison twice. And the second time really what made the decision that she needs to separate permanently, just by the way, as she grew up, the way he talked to her, very chauvinistic. But when he divorced and he was with other women, he would tell his young daughter when they get together his sexual exploits. So what are you doing telling your own daughter what you were doing to other women?
Yeah.
And, that's just sick right there in itself. That's not a conversation that you have. You shouldn't really have that with anybody.
No, you're right.
That's just terrible. So, basically a sociopath, sociopath 101. He did have feelings for his family, but he really had feelings for nobody else.
No, the only one he loved was his children. Everybody else, to hell with them. Now,
but even his relationship with his children was weird. He was still verbally abusive, but he wasn't physically abusive.
Yeah.
Verbal abuse could be just as bad. That really helps kill somebody's self-esteem, from day one. But, very controlling. I think the way he talked to his kids was very controlling. Like once they got somewhere, he didn't feel like he wanted them to progress, and he would say something, kind of keep them back. That's a big thing when people are growing up.
And he loved to manipulate his children very much.
Yeah, basically what it is, the controlling, the manipulation, very narcissistic behavior in him too. He says him and his wife really weren't getting along for a while because he was never there. It was always about him doing what he had to do, and the relationship was numb. And then women started calling the house saying I'm his girlfriend, and she had to say, well, I'm his wife, and they hang up. And that pretty much stopped it there because, I care about your children because they're your blood, but your wife really isn't your blood. And, you treat her that way. And it just goes to show you that is very a narcissistic type of thing to do. Even though you're supposedly a family man, but really deep down, was it learned behaviors to do that? Did he really truly deep down love his family? I don't know. I really don't know. Only he could say that, but he's been such a liar and manipulator. We'll never really know. He'll never tell the truth. The guy's like 70 years old right now, going to be in prison for the rest of his life. And all these other people that he killed don't have life anymore. And we have to remember them too. Because every time we talk about these serial killers, it's bothersome because there's so many families out there that have these people, these families that, are never the same again because they have part of their soul, part of their family missing. And this guy's still alive, which, I know a lot of people say these states shouldn't have a death penalty, but I think it still should be out there. It may be controversial for me to say, but I don't think my taxpayer money should keep this guy alive.
No,
I don't either.
I'd rather spend quick money and just do them in, no matter what state they're in. They don't deserve. If they took somebody's life, I think I'm starting to think that they should have a lottery of all the people that were killed, and whoever wins gets to throw the switch or gets to push the needle or whatever.
I'm going for that.
Sounds sick, but
no, it's not sick.
No, that's part of that eye for an eye.
I think it'd be closure right there. If somebody did something to my daughter, I sure as hell would want to win that lottery.
You ain't lying.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they could get him out of the courtroom before I got a hold of it.
Yeah.
There you go, Blaine. Right there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a bunch of extra Barney Fifes in there because I'm coming for his ass. Any way I get to him, I don't care if I get my ass whooped by every guard in that place. I'm gonna get my licks in on him before I get taken down.
Yeah. Good thing about being a former prison guard, when they know you are, you might be able to ask a couple people, "Hey, can I come in for a little while?"
Oops! Oh, he fell down again. Bang! Oh, he fell down again.
We'll have to cut that part. I don't want anybody to know.
Yeah, well, we're live. I hate to tell you.
Oh, no.
wasn't jack shit. No.
I'm in trouble now.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna lose my
You
high
got-
security clearance with that.
Hey, I got mine. And I'm saying this. Mine's higher than yours. So I got
Yeah.
a top secret security.
Yeah,
clearance.
yeah, that's right. I remember we
But-
talking about that. Yeah.
But him,
So here, let me throw up slide 2 because I think you're about to say it, Blaine.
Yeah.
No, we talked about him being. No, that's not slide 3. Excuse me. All right. So we have 8. Were you just about to talk about the women,
Yeah,
no.
Blaine? Oh,
sure we will.
Bla-
I
okay.
was, but I wasn't.
Definitely.
Go ahead, Blaine.
What I was going to say, that he used his children is like his little lifeline. He would always go to them after he killed somebody.
Yeah.
And he preyed on their naivety, being young kids. Like he said, she saw him twice in prison. Once when she was 15 years old, right after he got arrested. And I think she was in her 20s, right before she had her first child.
Yeah.
That she went and saw him. So now go ahead, Lee. Sorry.
Okay. Back to the big egg.
Yeah.
All right. So here he is holding his little girl, just like Blaine was just talking about. You know, the kids were his moment of being normal. But then he even brought and there, look at her over there to the left. Isn't she beautiful?
She's gorgeous.
I hate that she's had to have this in her life. I really do. But so he killed 8 people that we know of, right?
Yes.
And that we know of. Let me get back up here.
What he admitted to, yeah.
Right.
That they're able to
Possibly
prove.
more. And
Yep.
he strangled them. And usually when it's hands-on, vulnerable women, sex workers, hitchhikers, you know, usually that means that it's a gratification, a physical
Yeah.
gratification. And that might be why he's bringing his family to the locations afterwards, because
Yep.
he wants to have them there and feel the gratification of what happened there before, so he can be maybe trying to feel normal or happy. I'm happy. I've done this thing here. You know,
I think he did it for his thought that it was an atonement for the crimes he committed. And not only did he strangle his victims, he beat the living shit out of them.
Yeah.
To the point where he could have killed them just by beating them. He beat them so hard before he choked them to death.
He's a big man.
You know what's interesting is what I see is every time he killed somebody and he came home to the mom's house to see the kids, it's almost like we look at this way. When you do something bad, let's say a Catholic, you go to the confessional, right?
Yeah.
The kids are almost his confessional in a way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that also, you know, it's so weird how people, you know, in his interviews, he tried to justify all the murders.
Yeah.
You know, oh, she was doing this. So I said, well, you can't do that. And there was an argument. It says, well, I'm going to just get rid of you. And he said, one of the women said, I don't want to be here anymore. Well, if you don't want to be here anymore, I could kill you. And she says, bring it on. So thinking he's joking, and he actually killed her. So, you know.
You know, too, he videotaped himself after every kill.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want, when TV finally called a hold of him, he didn't want his story to be told wrong. He told his own story, videotaped himself, described how he picked them up, how he tortured them, how he beat them, how he killed them, and where he dropped their bodies. And he left little clues to know it was on him. Like one victim, he ripped her zipper completely out of her pants.
Yeah.
And I'll get to this. That woman.
Now that's a lot.
Well,
yeah, that's a whole lot.
Well, this is funny because they had this lady confess that her and her boyfriend were the one that killed her. She didn't know nothing about the happy face on the body, had no clue about it. She was only there to get away from an abusive relationship. So she turned her abusive boyfriend in as helping her kill her. And they got convicted.
Yeah.
And it pissed off Keith bad because they were taking credit for his kill. That was
they're getting
credit
for his stuff. Yeah.
For his pride level. You know, you don't mess with a serial killer's shit. That's
Yeah.
their kill.
That's right.
That's their ego. Now you're trying to take away from their ego.
Well, that's the control. That's the control. He doesn't want anybody to have control over what he's doing. And the thing is he went into on his trucking route, he went into a bathroom and carved in there, that he was the actual killer.
Yeah.
But then the
And
little
in
smiley
detail.
faces, the reason why they call him the happy face killer is he started writing letters to the Oregonian, the papers and all that, and always ended it, block letters, so they couldn't really track his type of writing if he was ever, caught. But he would put the little smiley face on, and there was a younger reporter that gave him the happy face killer moniker before he was captured.
So let me show you guys this one real quick, because I think I might have missed bringing up a slide. I'm trying to time it. It's not always easy, so I apologize if I'm missing something. So the happy face signature, he sent letters to the media and police, and he signed them with a freaking smiley face.
Yep.
He taunted law enforcement and claimed additional murders, so they dubbed him the smiley face killer. Okay.
Happy face, yeah.
Happy face, yes. Check this out. I would like to tell my story. I'm a good person at times. I've always wanted to be liked. I've been married and divorced with children. I didn't really want to be married, but it happened. I've read your paper and I enjoyed it a lot. Oh, see what smiley face. I want to be liked. And it's all about that.
It is. It's narcissism.
Yep.
It's it happens in anything. Even there's people they want to be famous. They want to be known, whether it be famous, infamy, or whatever. It's that wanting your name out there, and no matter what way it is. But for him, the way he was brought up, he was bound for infamy to begin with, and that thing. But so much with this guy. I mean, you're peeling the onion back.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it. Just basically pure sociopath, if ever there was one. So.
This is the funny part about it. He wanted to be a Canadian mounted police officer.
Yeah.
And he did everything he was supposed to do to get in there, but he hurt his shoulder during training for it, and they dismissed him because that shoulder was not serviceable for him to be a mounted. So between that and his wife leaving him, that set him off from his childhood angst. And he just said, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to go have fun now. And he would just pick up women, either kill them at his house or kill them in his truck.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. It's that trigger. We talk about it. Remember, we talked about the pattern and what's the trigger to make somebody go off, and that really is a trigger right there. You possibly won't see your kids on a daily basis that you supposedly care about. And the same year of his divorce was finalized was 1990. That's when all the murders started, all the way through 95. His final murder being, a girlfriend that was living with him that he was trying to help out. They got in an argument, he killed her, but that's ultimately he got questioned. And that's when he knew the ruse was up. So as they're questioning him, they let him go, but he knew that sooner or later they're going to get him. He tried to commit suicide twice after it, failed. Then decided, well, they're going to get me sooner or later. I'm just going to turn myself in. And we talk about earlier is, the co-ed killer, 6'9". This guy's like 6'8". I don't know what it is about tall serial killers, but they seem to like to turn themselves in, I guess, which I guess is good. The higher up you are, I guess, the more likely you are to turn yourself in. So, but just nuts.
Yeah. But it's funny. Go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry.
Here's 5. Well, I'm trying to pull it up. Wait a minute.
Lee, you were one of his victims.
No.
I'm frozen.
Big Ig didn't get you.
No, Big Ig.
Big Ig.
I am frozen. It's doing a really weird thing on my side. Gwen, would you put up slide 5 and 6 for me? I'm going to refresh and see if I can get back.
That was funny.
Big Ig.
Big Ig didn't get Big Lee.
Yeah, right. That's the people that confessed to the Tanya Bennett murder, the first one. And that's why, that's another thing I'm going to get at after we get rid of the slides. I'll tell you a little bit of my theory on that.
All right. Lee, you back?
Not yet.
I'm back.
There,
I'm back.
there she comes.
She's
All
back.
right.
Okay. There you go.
Thank
There's
you,
your
hon.
slide. You're welcome.
So we just talked about that, but I wanted to throw it up here because it created a controversy about false confessions and justice system flaws and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Ready for 6?
Yep, go ahead. Yep. Multiple life sentences.
Wow. 7?
Confessed while in jail on another charge. Yeah, go ahead, Gwen. 7. Here we go. So I was looking at the psychological profile. And so these are all the things you guys were just talking about. Craving attention from media and law enforcement, wrote disturbing letters and drawings, and he wanted that recognition and control. He's manipulative. So that's where we were.
Now, he wrote a letter to his daughter and sent her a picture. In that picture, this is after, she went to the prison to see him the second time. She was already married at this time. And her kids were very, very young at the time. And they met, and he got to meet her husband. So later on, he sends her a letter with a picture in it. It's of a naked woman. It says, "Is this what your husband looks at on a daily basis?"
Oh, yeah. He was a sick bastard. Oh, my God, was he sick?
That's the intimidation that he was doing on his own children. And it's just nuts. But back to the Laverne, Pavlik, John Synovus, and all that. You really think about it, this Laverne trying to get rid of her abusive husband and admitting to a murder, saying he did it and setting him up for it, where Jesperson actually did the murder. Because of that, it set something in motion where Jesperson got so mad he had to start writing letters and all that. But if that never happened, would he have murdered most of those people? What would be different? Would he not send letters with the happy face on it? Would he have became nicknamed the happy face killer? It's because of this Laverne lady who was let out of prison after, Jesperson admitted it. But I that's the thing that gets me with the court system. You created possibly the ability for a serial killer to murder more people because of your false accusations towards your.
The thing is with that, though, that when she was being interrogated by the FBI agent even brought up the fact of what was marked on her body, which was a smiley face. She had no clue it was there because she didn't do anything. And she looked at the woman and goes, "Why are you lying to me? You didn't kill this woman, nor did your boyfriend husband kill this woman."
Yeah.
I said, "What is your real motive for doing this?"
Yeah.
And she bent her head down and says, "He beats me." And that's all she said. And the district attorney wouldn't take that as evidence.
Yeah.
And since they confessed, boom, throw them right in the pokey.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, that's our court system. Hey, there's doubt there. Was that, submitted into court? There's doubt there, and they still went to prison. And this guy's out on the run, murdering how many more people after that? 7 more people.
It had to show them. It's like, look, I'll prove that they're not the killers. I'm gonna go out and kill several more people.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, he was smart in one way because they know he killed people in Texas, in Florida, and other southern states that have a death penalty.
Yeah.
He made sure that he turned himself into a state that did not have a death penalty because he knew he would fry. Any of those states, it'd been like, "No, son, nothing for you today."
You know what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think, what I want to know, a crazy fact. Think of some of the most notorious serial killers in the US. We're talking about the happy face killer right now. Where did he live? Washington. Who else is in Washington? Ridgeway. There's a whole bunch of them. So
yeah,
there's a few other ones that are off the top of my head, but What is it about the upper corner of our country?
Is some of the water there or
It could be
in the air?
Lack of sunshine because it
Oh,
rains
there you
all the
go. Lack of
time.
Too much,
sunshine.
or-
Well, most people that I've met from up there are just batshit crazy people.
Yeah.
I was in the military with a lot of them, and they were
Batshit
just
crazy.
Oh hell!
some of them were
We
dumber
love
than
you,
boxes.
Washington.
Yeah,
They were dumber than some of the boxes of rocks that we picked up.
yeah.
It's
So,
like, what is wrong with you people?
I don't know. It's there's like certain zodiac signs, certain states.
Yeah,
What is it with our universe that puts this into motion? That's the thing, the supernatural side of it too. That one area could lure or have that type of evil in it,
I was thinking about that.
or
It's
raise
like,
that evil. So
did somebody back in the day just hold, evil ceremonies to bring all the evil energies to that state?
I don't
Because
know.
You
Yeah.
never know.
We've had,
You never know.
I mean, we've
Well,
had at least
that other
5 to 7.
conspiracy. I don't know. Where's that? I don't know, that owl eagle thing where all these high-ranking political people
Oh,
go hide in the woods.
that's up in Northern California.
Okay, yeah, close enough.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
That's what I always think is like, what the hell's going on with people? It's just these crazy things, and I don't get it sometimes. I know it's just so intriguing how crazy these people are, but you go to that and you're dumbfounded by it. But then again, I feel so bad for these victims and all that, the victims' families, the like this Melissa, she's advocating for all these people now.
Yeah.
And she goes through a lot with this. She had to face, the woman that was the sister of Tanya Bennett, the first killing. And it was intense. I watched a video on it, and that was really intense of them trying to break through. And finally, this sister said to her, says, you should never feel bad or feel guilty about what your father did. And I think that really relieved her at that moment. You need somebody sometimes. These people aren't guilty of what their family members
and like
do.
you said earlier,
Not
Thomas,
at all.
she changed her name on purpose where she would not be a Jesperson because she didn't want that stigma. Because when she was a teenager growing up, after people found out that her dad was a serial killer, there was girls that beat her up. There was girls that flushed her down toilets. They snatched her hair out of her head. They treated her like total shit, beat the crap out of her. I don't know.
And that's why she kept it silent. Her own kids really didn't know.
No.
They visited him in prison that one time, but they're so young at the time. Do they really remember?
Yeah, I think she was
but the
pregnant with
youngest
one of
daughter her oldest daughter was like maybe 4 or 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And
I know she was pregnant with one of them. The last time
when she went to the prison, there were, one of them was maybe 1.5. The other one was like 4.
I thought she was pregnant with one of them. I could be wrong.
And the thing is the 4-year-old was known to have said to her mother that, who is that guy? Well, she didn't understand. She said, he feels really creepy.
Yeah.
Oh
It's a
man.
4-year-old saying, how kids are, they pick up, they're very empathic, and they pick up on energies. Like I've told you before, most kids have the ability to pick up on that stuff until critical thinking kicks in. So she's right at that age, and she picked up on the creep factor. So, and that says a lot. Like we told about, you run into people and you get that weird, creepy feeling. It's time to go the other way before there's contact.
Yes, it is.
Trust it.
Always.
That's the one thing. You should always trust your gut when it feels creepy. That's
Every
probably
time.
the biggest thing. So,
Every time.
Yeah.
And always look for an escape route. Always.
Yeah.
Yep.
Be wherever your surroundings, always know. It's like y'all notice me every time I go to a restaurant with you guys, my back's against the wall. I want to see everything that's going to come at us.
Yeah.
I will not have my back facing away.
Just naturally, my whole life I was trained to do it. It's just
and I can tell you every exit in that location and how to get there and get everybody out of there safely.
Yeah. It got crazy because after I left the Florida prison system and moved back up here, I actually worked as a bodyguard. And one of the most important things for me as a bodyguard was, where people were coming in and exits and everything, where something could happen. You had to think of every little thing to help protect your executives or
Yep.
a big party that was going on with important people. You had to know every little thing, and you had to keep notes on it, and you had to know, you had to memorize, you had to do walkthroughs. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
What Secret Service has to do is even more, but
Yeah.
it's incredible the amount of time it goes in to keep somebody protected. But just
Yeah.
naturally doing that for so many years, it's part of me. It's like walking. I just
Well,
naturally.
you know what it does for me too? It's like when I do a paranormal investigation,
Mhm.
I'm doing the same thing you would do. Like we were bodyguard, and now I'm bodyguarding all the people that are with us.
Yeah.
I'm looking for everything that's a hazard, everything that's that could hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Looking for ways for people to get out, just in case we need to get out quickly.
Yeah.
And not hurt each other. I mean, that's stuff
Exactly.
that I think about.
Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in. And again, it's been said before, and you guys know, in your lifetime, like 33 serial killers you'll come into contact with directly or indirectly.
It's so
Unfortunately,
scary.
some of
It
these
is.
people like that came in direct contact, lives are changed forever.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. And in this thing, all these things that happen, these people admitting to a crime they didn't do, shoulda, woulda, whatever happens after that, if that didn't happen, would this have gone on the way it did?
Yeah.
Even his daughter said that there was a day that she was sleeping over and he wanted her to stay over, and she says, "No, I'm not going to stay over this time." And that night, since she wasn't over, he decided to go out and he found somebody to murder. And
Yep.
she's guilty. She feels guilty that if she
Yeah.
stayed over, he probably wouldn't have went and murdered this person.
Yeah.
Those are the guilt that the family has of when they look back on the times that they do what they do, is like, oh, if I did this, would this not have happened? That's the thing that people do. Even for myself and what I went through with my family when my mom passed away, just so you guys know, I don't talk about this a lot, but when she took her own life, all I could do was think about was, okay, if I did this,
Excuse me.
if I did that, would she still be alive? If I talked to her on this day and just didn't take the phone call, would this be different? But that's the same type of, sadness that people go through. Even though Jesperson's still alive, his family is looking at him as a dead man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing. If I did this, would this have happened? If I did that, it's the guilt that you go through that you have to live with, and you have to make terms with it. And that's something I've dealt with my whole life since 2012. And you guys know I've been involved in the paranormal for a long time, but it
Yeah.
wasn't until 2012 that I really came out to shows like this to make myself a little more known, instead of being behind the shadows, because I think that was a catalyst for me that I needed to
Yep.
go out and see how important it was to help people heal. What I went through, tell my story, and tell the stories of other victims like this, and other styles of things that I'm well versed on, putting the knowledge out there, teaching. I think it's important. And like I said to you guys, when I tell you this stuff, you guys go on a trip and you see things happen. It's just how you pick up things. When
Yep.
people are telling you stuff, it helps you on your own journey. All of us are on our own journey. And as we talk tonight, somebody's going to hear what we have to say, and that's going to put them on a different path or trajectory of their own journey,
Sure.
whether to keep them safe or to make better decisions on these
Yeah.
types of situations.
Well, one of the things that Melissa, his daughter, when
Mhm.
she talked to him in court in prison one time, she told him that when she was 15, she had to have an abortion because she was raped. And she looked right at him and goes, What happened to me, you were doing to other people.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. That's deep.
Yep. But yeah, the things that families go through, those the secrets that people keep, the double lives and all that. We have to be aware of what's going on with our family, with our significant others. You have to trust, and you have that loyalty and that trust. You don't want to break that, but once something like that's going on, the trust is broken.
Yeah.
Even to the point where he wrote his brother, admitting to the murders.
He sent him
He thought his
videotapes
brother
of
was
it.
just going to hold on to the letter.
Yeah.
No, he brought it right to the police.
Yeah.
He knew his brother was guilty, and he's not going to be part of it. Even his daughter, at one point, she looked back, and they were sitting at this diner eating, and her father said to her, I have something really important to tell you. It's really hard for me to say. And then he stopped. She felt like he was about to admit what he was doing at the time.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like he felt guilt for a second there, but then decided, well, you're probably going to turn me into the police anyway. And that's what stopped him.
So here's you know how we always talk about the victims, okay? So here's victim 1 and 2. We talked about Tanya Bennett, and then there's an unidentified woman, and Jefferson referred to her as Claudia, okay? And then we have Cynthia Lynn Rose and Laura Ann Petlin. All right. And look, go back. He said he killed her after a dispute over payment for sex.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one, while he was in the car, in the truck, sleeping. Okay. Then here's this one, Carla or Cindy, and it's actually Patricia. All right. And then there's Suzanne, and she was left unidentified for decades. And then we've got these last ones, Angela hitchhiking, and then Julie Wingingham.
That was the one
she
he had
actually
the relationship with.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that his kids actually met her.
Yeah.
This is my new girlfriend. The kids got to meet, and then she ends up dead. So, what went through the kids' minds? But I think as it was going on, that's when they came over and said, yeah, he's murder and, that. But, the things that people go through, the families, the victims, it still gets me. But I think it's important that we do this show to help those people.
Yes.
Again, I always say we're not glorifying them. We're showing you that breaking point, the things to recognize with your kids growing up, what they're doing to get them that help, or it's you as a teacher, noticing the kids in class. If the parents are such evil people that they're not going to get the kids the help, you as a teacher have to step in. It's your I know we're not there, but us as a community, as a village, we need to raise our families and our village properly. If we see something wrong, unfortunately, somebody's got to get involved. We got to help these kids, so a lot of this stuff doesn't have the potential to happen.
Yep.
I have a picture to throw up again. Okay, I want you to see what he looks like when he was young, when he, when he had the babies. He's got beautiful hair, a big, beautiful smile that his daughter inherited. It would have to be the creep factor. He's not a bad looking guy.
Mm.
But that's why we try to break these things down, these kinds of cases down.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to throw out there that the rest area on Interstate 80 in Nebraska, mile marker 58, 59, there's a rest area there. And Angela Subrise was murdered there. And there's reports that that area is haunted, possibly by a residual energy, just from the shock of what happened to her. I just wanted to throw out there, besides the fact that there's this dark energy about him that's a lot like Ted Bundy. He's a good looking fella. He's not a bad looking man. He doesn't look like, Ramirez. He's, you get what I'm saying? We have to follow our gut instinct. The creep factor is so important. That's why we keep talking about it on the show.
Supernatural side. It's the supernatural side.
Right. That's what I was meaning.
Has us as, able to feel things. When we go into a place and there's dark energy in there, we feel it.
Oh, big time.
But these people, you could feel it and see it instantaneously. And those are the things to feel and look out for. But this guy, when you hear him talk nonchalantly about how he murdered, it's almost like the same demeanor as BTK. just a nonchalant, yeah, I did this, I did that to her, and I did, like, it's no big deal. And it you know, and you're thinking, okay, this guy was married and had 3 kids and loving, and you see him holding the kids and kissing it, and then he talks like that about what he did to women and trying to justify it. Yeah, it's the mind is it's vast, and we don't know exactly what it does and why it does things for certain people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think his last victim, Julie Winningham, because he had an emotional connection with her. I'm sure that there's that betrayal, you know, feeling. I would be interested in maybe a ghost box session at the rest stop or a roadside motel, something like that near there, to see what would happen. What would she say? What does she feel like she needs to, you know, if she's there? I hope she's not. But
one of these days, I think we all need to do a show and just go to these areas and see if we could help these victims.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Would be important.
I
It'll
think
be tough
so
to do because a lot of the victims' families don't want to keep stuff brought up. But if they know that we could help bring closure to their family, maybe it might be something different. That's kind of the way I look at it. You know, I love to be able to do that, give closure to families, just in spirit.
I do too.
Yeah. But you want to know one of the crazy things we didn't mention yet? When Jesperson was in jail, his grandfather came to visit him. And he said to his grandfather at one time, while all this was going on, and he felt he wasn't in control anymore, he really contemplating on killing all 3 of his children.
Oh, no.
Wow. So, and that's what tells you that mind and what is going on, that anxiety of his darkness just going and going and going, and him thinking of things to do. It's like when he was killing animals, you know, when he was killing the animals, he's like, what would it feel like to kill a human being? And one of his friends pissed him off one day, and he tried to kill him, but his father pulled him off him and then beat him and all. He says if his father didn't pull him off him, he probably would have killed him. And then there was another kid that, you know, Jesperson was swimming at a lake, and this kid tried to drown him. So to get back at him, they were at a pool one day, and then he tried to drown the kid back, and the lifeguard had to pull him off before he killed the kid. He had those tendencies from the age of 10. That's when he tried to do these things. So, you know, but he was a troubled child. They picked on him. You know, he tried to be quiet and you know, do his own thing. But, you know, people would piss him off, and that evil would come out at a young age, and nobody did anything about it. They decided, let's just call him Igor. Let's just call him Ig. Let's beat the crap out of him and think that's gonna change him. So, you know.
Do you know if he was really tall as a kid?
Yeah. Yes.
He got
that's why
as a kid?
Yeah, that's why they called him Igor or Ig. So that's where we came
up
with
sometimes people don't grow, you know, as a child. They have to hit puberty before they go up. But he's big.
He was large from the time he was like 9. He started sprouting when he was about 9.
Ooh, I bet he did get picked on. Sure.
This is the thing to really contemplate out there. This is why I tell family, you know, with your siblings, you as parents and all that, if you could really push through your own traumas. If him growing up, if they gave him just a little bit more love, didn't beat him the way they did,
got him help,
didn't make fun of him, people didn't pick on him, maybe all 8 of those women would still be alive today.
That's true.
Even though he did it, that family pushed him to do it.
Oh, sure. They're all equally.
They're just as guilty. They're just as guilty.
Yes,
you know? And his family, his kids now and all that, I don't feel them guilty because I don't think they did anything to push him to do that. He was already broken.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, his older brother even said, I think he came out of the womb bad. His own brother.
I don't think so.
And,
there's the other study done out of all the serial killers and all that, all the serial killers in history, all that had children, none of those children grew up to be serial killers.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's genetic. I really don't. I think there is a genetic predisposition for violence, maybe, But
No,
I
all I
think
said was,
there has to be a catalyst, and the catalyst is the way you're brought up. So
I said his brother's the one that said he came out of the womb
Yeah.
bad. His own brother
Yeah.
said that. I didn't say that's what he did. What happened?
no, because his brother is feeling guilty, so he's going to blame it on him coming out of the womb that way. But yet his brother is complicit
Oh, big time.
in picking on him growing up to the point where he's part of it. He should feel just as guilty that he treated his brother that way. You know, we have to love our siblings no matter what they're going through. We have to support. We can't be part of the trauma. You know, the mother was non-existent. The father was an alcoholic. The brothers should have come to his aid. They should have known what's going on. They should have came together as a team to protect each other, and they didn't. Nobody was there to protect this guy, and because of that, 8 women are dead. Think of that, people that are watching. You know, so that's the thing that gets
But you
me.
got to think of this too, Patrick.
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think of this too. Maybe that you didn't take up for the little brother because they were scared they would get the shit beat out of them too if they helped him.
Yeah.
Well, we could go another route. The people
fear
that
that
were
held him.
the easy victims that he chose, there's a story there. Why are they the underbelly of society? They were victimized, and
But they
and
were
then
growing
they
up
all
the
came
same
together.
way. A lot of them, you know, a lot of people, like even we talked about Eileen Wuornos and all that, how she was brought up and became a sex worker. Were all these other sex workers abused the same way growing up to put himself,
Probably.
unfortunately, in that situation where somebody like this could take advantage of them? There's the shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know. But the fact of the matter is, you know, sometimes your life situation puts you in that. But like I told you, doesn't matter what you grew up doing, you're still going to come into contact, you know, by average, you know, indirectly or directly, like I said before. Doesn't matter. But some people put themselves into more of that percentage and all that with what they chose or their situation growing up, what put them there. So that's the big thing that we have to think about as a society when we're looking at things. We're so divided right now in a society, and I think when we talk about this stuff, it needs to bring people together. People are so afraid to say something, you know. And then when these kids get older and you didn't say something, and then they, you know what, you didn't do your part. It could have been little. That little part, you helped somebody. You know, one kid just needed a hug because nobody was giving him a hug at home. Changes the whole trajectory of that young boy or woman or girl, whatever, that they don't become the serial killer. Sometimes it just takes a little, you know, little thing that changes somebody's life around.
I've
we don't
lived
do
by
enough
that.
anymore. Ever since COVID, people are more so selfish now, and we can't be. We got to stop separating. We got to stop arguing with each other over the stupidest stuff. You know, again, we're talking about tonight, dead women, because somebody didn't say something. Somebody didn't do the little thing. Somebody didn't give this kid love. Even Eileen Wuornos, that one woman that, you know, treated her right, but hey, too late. We can't be too late. We got to do it early. We have to be encouraging for each other. So, exactly, like a Joe.
Well,
Big
you
hit.
know that he did confess to 160 murders.
I think a lot of the serial killers, when they want to get into the public eye, they say that, but there's no evidence more than the 8. That the 8 were proven. Could there be? If you know,
who knows?
You know, if they find other bodies, you know, there's still the potential to match his DNA to it. Who knows? But there's still one of the 8 that hasn't been totally brought out on who they were. So, you know, still just a one name that he says it was, but still a Jane Doe. And even with our technology now, being able to pick that stuff up, you know, there still could be something out there. You know, it's our science as it gets better and better. And, you know, even with more and more cameras out there, it's less likely for some of these people to be so brazen. But it's still there. They're going to figure out another way. You know, even when people say, "Hey, take all their guns away," somebody's still going to stab you. So they're
we could take every gun and put it on the moon, and a crook will have one tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're just
Or they'll just
disarming
stab
the
you. They'll just stab you. They'll just
stab
kind
you.
of bomb up. They'll
3D
figure out a
print
way to
it.
kill you.
They'll 3D print a gun, pop
Yeah.
gun,
Yeah.
frozen ice bullet, something like
Yeah.
that. Well, we are wrapping it up. Those
Yeah.
of you watching, you got some voting to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
Is
show
it
them all the
going to?
hashtags again.
Oh
Lego
gosh,
Joe
we
is
got
already
so
number
many.
one, so that wasn't part of
Lego
the
Joe will always be Lego
Joe is
Joe.
already
Lego
number
Joe.
one
That
forever.
will never go. Well, where
Yeah.
the heck is it? Oh, banners. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got the Lego Joe. So that's a solid. But Big
Yeah.
Egg,
Big
you
egg.
like Big Egg, Deranged Beaker. Is there
Yeah.
any other?
I
What
think
was
we
the
had
other one
Deranged
that
Big Bird too, but
Yeah.
Deranged.
So they have to
I hope-
vote on Big Egg or Deranged Beaker.
yeah.
That'd be good.
Deranged Big Bird,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big Egg,
Yeah.
or Deranged Beaker. I hope I'm spelling these things right
Oh.
because that's not a word that you spell
I
often,
don't know if
right?
Beaker is Beekeker, the cartoon. We'll have to look it up.
Oh, yeah.
Either
Yeah.
way, could be.
Well,
I
people
don't
got the
remember,
Well,
but
I was
he's-
thinking like a beak is
Yeah.
a B.
Well, Beaker's the red.
You're
And
the
he can
one
only
that
go.
yeah.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah.
So, yep, you guys let us know in the comments
Yeah.
below or send
Yeah.
us direct messages and we'll have our hashtag for next week. Who are we
Yeah.
doing next week, guys?
I don't know. What
Let's
do you guys
see.
think?
Have we done the East Coast for a while? How about Boston Strangler or Son of Sam?
Yeah.
I think
Son of
that's a
Sam
good
will be
one.
good.
Yeah, we haven't
Way
done
to
Son
go,
of Sam.
Blaine.
Will be good.
Yeah, because I got
Perfect.
some questions about him, and there's a big supernatural thing
Oh,
in
yeah.
there. So
Oh,
I'd like to
so
dig
they-
into
Even as
that.
Ramirez,
Mhm.
same thing as Ramirez. There was some
Yeah.
attachment to the Satanic Panic with him too. So,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
oh, and there's one
All right.
cool story. There's one cool story about Son of Sam. I can't wait to tell next week. So
Very
sure.
cool.
Tunes in for that
All
one.
right. So stay tuned next week for Son of Sam.
Bye,
Mm.
y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thank you for watching. All right. Let me get to the video. Boom.
Out of here, guys.
All right. And we're off.